Beware of spoilers, you have been warned.
Pride and Prejudice is a film I have seen before. I actually watched it a few times for a film class, so this material is beyond new to me. I I know quite a bit, but rewatching it recently hit differently. Something about it, I'm obsessed and fully in love with Mr. Darcy in a way I have never been before. He has bewitched me. What else can I say? Our story starts out with the iconic Elizabeth Bennet, played by the iconic Keira Knightley. I may go on and on about Darcy, but please know, my appreciation for Elizabeth is astronomical. She's stubborn and proud, headstrong, independent. She doesn't really fit in any mold within society, or even her own family for that matter. She is such an individual with so many different sides and emotions. She is a prime example of a strong female lead, and her character arc and development support this as well. The Bennets are quite the Brady Bunch. Jane, elegant and reserved, Elizabeth's closest sister. Mary, the emo goth girl of the family, for sure. Kitty and Lydia, just a couple of annoying teenage girls. Mrs. Bennet, mother of 5 daughters, is adamant on all of her daughters marrying well, keeping up with the times. Mr. Bennet is just a go-with-the-flow kind of guy. Elizabeth and Mary are definitely his favorite children. They're kind of mine as well, to be honest. The family, I wouldn't really classify as poor, though basically middle to low class, I guess, for sure. They have a decent farm, nice land, servants even, but still considered the bottom of the barrel from the point of view of people like the Bingleys and the Darcys. The culture surrounded by women in these times is an interesting one. For one thing, women are so respected. Men must bow to them when they enter the room and treat them with such respect. Yet a woman's role in life is to find a husband and take care of them. They're the center of the home, yet obviously not on equal ground as their husbands. It's just a bit ironic, and I think that's what eventually catches Darcy's eye as Elizabeth really challenges this throughout the film. They're equal in mind, one might say. Speaking of Darcy, the man himself, I love his introduction in this film. This tall, handsome dude that just so obviously does not want to be there. I feel you, dude. I get it.
Not if I can help it.
Best Elizabeth moment is in this scene, when she overhears him call her perfectly tolerable, and literally first chance she got.
Dancing, even if one's partner is barely tolerable.
Mic drop. She walks away. Dang, that was hot. And Darcy's just staring at her, as usual. Like, this is one of those moments he will lay awake cringing at, for sure. Between this first ball and Elizabeth's visit to Netherfield, we are witnessing Darcy fall in love. It was pretty much love at first sight, though he is definitely in denial about it, or tries to be at first. She walks in the room, and he just stares at her with those puppy dog eyes, like, dude, we see you. He really gets to know her pretty quickly, and as I've mentioned before, he's quite taken by how different she is, especially when her mom and sisters arrive. She's so apart from them in a drastic way. Being stuck with a basic bitch like Carolyn, it really wasn't hard for Elizabeth to catch his eye, let's be real. Then we get to the hand incident. There is really so much to unpack here. There's like a legitimate cultural reason why this is so electric. First of all, a man just doesn't hold a lady's hand ever unless they were like together or dancing or something. This was a clear sign of affection. Elizabeth was shook. We were shook. Darcy could not believe he just did that, hence the hand flex. It honestly makes me laugh knowing the fan base goes crazy about the hand flex. Darcy's hand is a common subject in fan art. The internet just loves this scene. Now, not that they were really any sort of competition, but Elizabeth is met by two other suitors that really put drama into this love story. You got Mr. Collins.
And what excellent boiled potatoes.
Really not a chance. Hey, Mr. Darcy is an introvert, but Collins is something else.
You are a laughingstock in polite society.
Really respect Mr. Bennet and not making Elizabeth marry him. That was such a great moment, but the fact that Charlotte ends up marrying him is yet another instance in which Elizabeth is set apart from everyone else. Charlotte married Collins because she felt like she had to. Again, that's a woman's life goal, but that's just not Elizabeth's style. Then we have dear Mr. Wickham.
Mr. Wickham.
He comes in really at the best time because Elizabeth has kind of made up her mind at this point that she doesn't really like Darcy. So when Wickham shows up with his fake news sob story, she believes him. The Netherfield Ball! I love everything about this entire sequence. That amazing shot of Elizabeth walking to the ballroom and Darcy showing up behind her, like, dude. Then he asks her to dance, because that's what Elizabeth told him was the best way to show affection. This was such a beautiful scene as well. Like, I don't think there were many cuts either. So they had to memorize choreography and dialogue and the crazy timing that came with that. Matthew and Kira made it all feel so natural and smooth. The music, the set, the costume. This was a great scene.
I hope to afford you more clarity in the future.
That moment, when it felt like they were the only two in the room, electrifying. Darcy is obviously head over heels, while Elizabeth, maybe not in love, but is at least has been intrigued by the man, as she says, is just trying to figure out who this guy is. I do want to give a shout out to an incredible one-shot, probably one of my favorite one-shots in film ever. Seriously, guys, if you do not understand the difficulty it takes to masterfully create a one-shot, then you need to learn. When there are this number of moving parts, it's a whole dang ball. You've got all the guests and the main characters all have some sort of moment or dialogue that the actors had to get right or the whole thing is messed up. You had Mrs. Bennet's outburst about a non-advantageous marriage, clearly heard by Mr. Darcy, who was wandering around. Adorable moments between Jane and Bingley, commentated by Elizabeth and Charlotte, another important piece for later. A very lovely moment with Mr. Bennet and Mary. There's just so much going on. Again, the setting, it's just a visual feast. The Darcy and the Bingleys leave Netherfield. Some time passes, Jane is slightly heartbroken, Charlotte is married, and now it is time for Elizabeth to meet Lady Catherine. And guess who is there waiting for her? Mr. Darcy. That dinner scene could not have gone better for Darcy. He sat right next to Elizabeth and witnessed her hold her own as she was bombarded by this passive-aggressive interrogation. She answered with pride, and Darcy was definitely like, girl, tell it. Or at least I was.
I do not have the talent of conversing easily with people I have never met before.
This is the point in the movie when you really realize Darcy is the book definition of an introvert. Like, this is a major reason as to why so many hopeless fangirls are in love with him, because hopeless fangirls are mostly introverts, just like him. We get it. We understand you. We love you. But it's also why Mr. Darcy has remained so relevant. This fan base is still quite strong and is honestly one of the classic literature characters I see the most, probably for this reason. Now, as we realize he is an introvert, and we love this idea, Mr. Darcy makes us realize just how much we hate ourselves when he takes Elizabeth's advice and tries to practice by abruptly showing up. And God, it is painful to watch. As a fellow introvert, watching this man absolutely fail at his social interactions such as this.
This is a charming house.
Yeah, thanks, man, for such a profound statement. I have physical chest pains when I watch this scene. It's too real, and I hope Darcy lays in bed at night cringing at his existence like the rest of us.
I love you, most ardently.
The proposal incident is a sight to behold. Hey, your family is kind of trash and you're like beneath me in every way, but I am defying my status as a pompous rich boy by asking you out, so could you just say yes because I love you for real, for real? Yeah, even with Elizabeth's recent discoveries, this wasn't going well. There's a lot to unpack here. Firstly, Elizabeth was right in being upset. I mean, he insulted her, let's be real. But he also broke up Jane and Bingley, which, in his defense, he did because he didn't think Jane liked him as much as he liked her, and Mrs. Bennet's cries for advantageous marriage weren't exactly helping either. I think that's what hurt Elizabeth a lot, to hear Darcy's statements about her family and the fact that she kinda slightly agreed with him to some extent. Now, this is the most vulnerable we've seen Darcy so far. His emotions are all out in the open for the first time, and Elizabeth says no. You just didn't do that. Darcy is rich AF. He is high in society. People just don't say no to people like him. Elizabeth, who is significantly lower in society, is saying no and even argues with him. He argues back, but this just makes them love her more.
From the first moment I met you, your arrogance and conceit, your selfish disdain for the feelings of others made me realize that you were the last man in the world I could ever be prevailed upon to marry.
Darcy and Elizabeth almost kiss, and this is where Elizabeth's internal conflict truly begins. She hates him, but there's just something about him that gets to her, and she has spent the whole movie trying to figure it out. Following this iconic scene, Mr. Darcy leaves her a letter. He apologizes for what he did to Jane and also gives the full story behind Mr. Wickham. The feelings and thoughts this letter leaves in Elizabeth follows her all the way to Pemberley when she arrives at Darcy's home. Touring his extravagant estate, Elizabeth realizes what she lost when rejecting Darcy's proposal. She knew he was rich, but I don't think she realized just how rich he was until entering his home. This is beyond the extravagance of anything she has ever seen. It could have been hers. Now, it's more clear in the book, but the servants talk about Darcy behind his back and have nothing but nice things to say about him. At this point, Elizabeth's perspective has completely shifted. Just as Darcy was too quick to judge Jane, Elizabeth was too quick to judge Darcy. And now she finds herself falling in love with him. This obviously makes their reunion quite awkward. Darcy is already such an introvert, but when Elizabeth's embarrassed, that just kind of made the whole encounter so much more worse. Like, I am cringing, most audibly. But this whole sequence is such a delight. Meeting Georgiana, seeing what a pure light she is, how much she adores her brother, and how much he adores her. Mr. Wickham is not very welcome in this chat. How dare he tries to break such an innocent soul. Anyways, what always gets me about the scene is how Mr. Darcy smiles. That damn smile. That was the final straw for me. I was totally in love with Darcy in that moment. Like, that was the end game. Then we get to the climax.
Mr. Wickham
has targeted Lydia and is now caught in a scandalous union with him. We are now presented to the other major reason why hopeless fangirls fall in love with Darcy so easily. Ever since his failure of a proposal, he has been going behind the scenes to change himself for the better. He took everything Elizabeth said to heart. It wasn't a I can fix you moment, it was a let him fix himself kind of thing. He didn't do it to win her back either, just purely for the fact that she was right. He found Lydia and paid for the marriage, saving her and the Bennets from being a disgrace in this day and age. He then pushed Bingley to return and propose to Jane, undoing his mistake of separating them to begin with, and he did it without the expectation of her thanks. He didn't chase her back with his good deeds. He didn't try to propose again. In fact, he tried to do it all behind her back. He just simply did what was right by her. He didn't dare hope it would lead to romance. He just wanted her to be happy. Then Lady Catherine shows up.
Are the shades of Pemberley to be thus polluted?
What even is the story here? Who said anything about Darcy proposing to Elizabeth? Like, who spilled the beans? Either way, this crotchety old lady just pushed them towards each other as they find each other in the fields, half-dressed, in the midst of thick morning fog, and prepare themselves for what is the greatest proposal in human history. Bro walked all the way to speak to her in person. This is the moment.
You have bewitched me, body and soul, and I love you. I never wish to be parted from you from this day on.
Like, how the F can anyone say no to that? Literally. Damn. I love how the pair goes to Mr. Bennet to seek consent to the marriage. We hear Elizabeth's change of heart with her own words for the first time. It's also another great moment between him and his favorite daughter, as I feel like there was a bond, like their bond was such a strong backbone to Elizabeth's story.
And how are you this evening, Mrs. Darcy?
The epilogue. Very simple, but very effective and sweet. I just imagine him calling her Mrs. Darcy every chance he gets, to the point if he calls her by another name, something must be wrong. Mr. Darcy is every introvert's worst nightmare, yet every introvert's deepest desire. We cringe for him, we root for him. Matthew Macfadyen is just adorable. I look forward to watching Succession in full, and to seeing him in Deadpool 3. Quite smitten, quite obsessed. Keira Knightley's always on the money. She is quite a presence on screen, and Elizabeth was the perfect character for her. This movie is so well made. The movie is often criticized and compared to the 1995 BBC miniseries as well as the book itself. I've done research, okay? That, like, please, I did research. And I still believe this film is the best adaptation. Sorry, Colin Firth, but I got my eye on Matthew. It's like, really? And I don't even know who the other actress is that played Elizabeth. I mean, I've been crushing on Keira Knightley since 2006, so sorry 1995 cast. Keira and Matthew all the way. I also think that as an adaptation, it takes the most important parts and successfully embodies the exact feeling and vibe of the original book. Many scenes were left out or combined, and it honestly helped make the film more compact while still telling the full story. I can't think of a single book detail or scene that was left out of the movie that the movie truly needed. The aesthetic of the film is timeless. Many see Pride and Prejudice as a comfort movie, and I feel that. I've seen other films of this genre and type, like Sense and Sensibility, both versions of Little Woman, but Joe Wright's Pride and Prejudice is just superior, and I cannot stress enough. This is an introvert's movie. Mr. Darcy has bewitched us body and soul, and we love him. Speaking of Mr. Darcy, star of the week is Matthew Macfadyen. Matthew was born in England to a Scottish father and Welsh mother. Thanksgiving. I know they don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but Thanksgivings must have been quite fun. His mother was a drama teacher and his dad was some sort of an engineer. Instead of getting a real job like his dad, I guess he took after his mom more and fell into acting. Sorry. I know I make that joke all the time, like acting isn't a real job, but you know what? It's okay. At 17, he was accepted into the most prestigious drama school probably in the whole world, Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. It's called Royal for a reason. Look up the alumni. Legends are born here. He did several plays with RADA and continued to be active in theatre, moving forward into his professional career. He's been in Shakespeare classics such as Midsummer Night's Dream and Much Ado About Nothing. He was in the play Henry IV with Michael Gambon. Pretty much through all of the 2000s decade, he was active in theater, also appearing in plays like School for Scandal and Private Lives. He dabbled with on-screen roles in some early TV movies and shows on BBC. This led to a lead role in the show Spooks or MI5, depending on where you're from, which definitely gained him popularity to this day because I still see comments on Succession and Pride and Prejudice videos of people saying, OMG, he was so great in Spooks, I knew he'd be great here. Like, was this seriously such a defining role, or are these internet folk just super British? Matthew Macfadyen starred in Joe Wright's Pride and Prejudice alongside Keira Knightley. I am not obligated to discuss in detail the obsession I have with this film or the sub-obsession with Matthew that came from it. Some other films he's been in includes Death at a Funeral, hilarious, Robin Hood, The Three Musketeers, Incendiary, and the TV movie Enid with Helena Bonham Carter. He reunited with Keira Knightley in Anna Karenina and got his first Disney check when they both appeared in the film Nutcracker in the Four Realms. He was also in the film Operation Mincemeat, which he co-starred another famous Mr. Darcy actor, Colin Firth. Matthew has been in mini-series such as Little Dorrit, The Enfield Haunting, Criminal Justice, Any Human Heart, Ambassadors, Howard's End, Quiz, and Stonehouse. British people and the BBC just really love miniseries. He starred in Pillars of Earth, which literally is a packed ensemble of just the best actors. Go watch it. It was so well done and well cast and well acted. Matthew portrayed the detective Edmund Reed in 5 seasons of Ripper Street. He co-starred with Jerome Flynn, like Mr. Darcy and Bronn from Game of Thrones being partners and anti-crime running around in Jack the Ripper Street. Like, how have I not watched this yet? Following the success of one show to a much greater success of another, Matthew Macfadyen portrayed the great cartoon that is Tom Wambsgans for all 4 seasons of the many award-winning series Succession. In season 1 and 2, Tom is just a clown, but in seasons 3 and 4, Tom is Emmy Award-winning Matthew Macfadyen. Matthew earned 1 Golden Globe nomination and win, 2 BAFTAs from 2 nominations, 2 Emmys from 3 nominations, and the cast won the Ensemble Screen Actors Guild Award for seasons 3 and 4. The awards speak for themselves. It is not overrated. This brings me to the end where I talk about Matthew's supporting role in the 2024's cultural phenomenon, Deadpool and Wolverine. Ryan Reynolds is a huge Succession fan and had Matthew come in to play what ended up being the British Tom Wambsgans role of Mr. Paradox. That movie was such a treat, and Matthew's scenes are just the little Greg sprinkles on top that really completed the experience for someone like me who has had a crippling obsession with the guy since before stepping into the theater. Aggretsuko, Season 1. The first season establishes characters, tones, and themes of the whole series so perfectly. You are immediately attached to many of the characters, and you get a clear understanding about what the plot is about from the start. You watch Retsuko as she balances work and life. She's trying to succeed and work to become respected and appreciated, but she struggles with the disappointment of life. She doesn't have too much of a social life and has lots of hopes and dreams that she realizes may not be fulfilled the way she wants them to. And that's it. That's the show. Throw in quirky animation and characters, comedic reactions and interactions, all pulled together with the aesthetic and art style, and you got what is Aggretsuko. Season 2 and 3? The next seasons are more or less just an expansion of Aggretsuko's experiences and arc. She meets new characters and faces different challenges and situations that fall in line with the show's overall themes. This includes her Hannah Montana arc when she joins a band and is the lead screamo waifu and becomes an undergrad superstar overnight. Yep, that happened. Honestly, the most memorable arc of the show for me, but yeah. Retsuko was able to live a double life, doing what she wants to while also sticking to her day job and finding balance for both. But now we're getting into reflections of the harsh reality of celebrities. Like, too many people don't think about the fact that celebrities are also just people. Being in the spotlight and having fame and money and success does not guarantee a perfect life. In fact, being so well known has more consequences than perks. And Aggretsuko's stalker situation is an example of this. The final season, I don't think we needed a final season, honestly. Like, season 4 felt more like an epilogue or something because so many character arcs came full circle in season 3 and it felt concluded by that season finale. So just see the season as some extra time with your favorite characters as the show touches on how companies can utterly disrespect and degrade employees who literally dedicated a lifetime to their work. Okay, some overall thoughts. Aggretsuko's most major theme is a reflection of the workforce, mainly in Japan, but also other places around the world could definitely relate. The corporate ladder is hard to climb. The younger generation is always seen as lazy, good-for-nothing crybabies, while the older generation don't know how we're really struggling. This isn't just through generational trauma, like what we saw with Haida, and it's not even a generation-specific issue. I mean, just watch Office Space or something, or even the whole final season. I'm not here to write a speech complaining about the details of unfulfilling and unfair working environments and the exhaustion it might take to put food on the table, but PSA, mental health is a thing, and I think we should all partake in karaoke screamo death metal every once in a while. Tone shift balance was aided with adulty story elements mixed with the cute art style and animal characters. Like, these characters could canonically hang with Hello Kitty, but they're like dealing with stalkers and depression. Overall, I found this to be cute but a meaningful little anime. Loved the dub voice actors, Hi Ben Diskin. The aesthetic and art style was very Hello Kitty, while the story itself was a reflection on life in a not so Hello Kitty way. All the characters were adorable and quirky and represented some sort of aspect of many themes of the show. There wasn't really a character I disliked. I definitely recommend it. I enjoyed it from start to finish, and it was such a breath of fresh air, and I'm glad I experienced it. Hogwarts Legacy. Now, if you know me, then you know I'm purely defined as a Harry Potter fan, so Hogwarts Legacy has been my most anticipated upcoming game since its announcement. I'm going to break it down into 3 parts. Things I did not like, things I thought I wouldn't like, but I actually really, really do, and things that I just absolutely love.
Let the match begin!
There are a lot of people with valid criticisms of this game. Yeah, it's not perfect. It has its flaws, from really minor ones to major ones, but my list of things that I did not like, it's not that big compared to others. However, I agree pretty much with everybody by saying broom mechanics, not it. I forgot what I had to do to make it bearable, but I definitely had to change sensitivity and camera settings to make things easier, and I got much better at flying as time went on. But it just takes too long to get used to flying, which means the mechanics are not natural, and no one will enjoy this aspect of the game. I will say once you are used to it, and once you have all the broom upgrades, it is fun, and the 2 different mounts you get are fun as well.
Another thing I didn't like was how classes were done. Your first class is actually really well done, hands-on and everything, but we needed to do this more. I think instead of teacher assignments, we should have done an interactive class for the same rewards, which could also give more highlight to our classmates and professors in the classroom setting. I also have minor grievances with the map, mostly how the map would tell and not show where collectibles are. Like, who really wants to chase down those landing platforms? I also don't like how unlocking the map is, because I find that I may fly over an area and revelia the heck out of the place, and not all the icons for the beasts or collectibles will show up, and I'm down to one of a specific item and I can't see on the map where it could be. I wish it kind of worked like Breath of the Wild, like you go to an area or say unlock a flu powder and a section of the map reveals with all the necessary indicators for your exploration. Now, despite these flaws, there are a lot of things I like about the game, and some things I like that I didn't think I would. First, the story. I honestly did not give a crap about the story going in. Hogwarts Legacy was all about Hogwarts for me, but in the end, the story our character uncovers about the Keepers and What's-Her-Face were actually really interesting. Poppy and Natty's stories were also fun to play, the ultimate Gryffindor and Hufflepuff adventures. But my man, Seb Sallow, legit would watch a whole Ash movie about Sebastian Sallow and Ominous Gaunt. All the storytelling effort went here. And the rewards for going through his arc are great. I mean, learning the unforgivable curses. Your choices have consequences. Like, which a-hole sent him to Azkaban? You want a good story? Play all of Sebastian's missions. Going into gameplay, I really thought scaling would hinder the experience. Like, why are we leveling up if enemies are leveling with us? Talent points. It's all about talent points. Those points are used for skills that can just make you a beast. And if enemies were not scaled, the game would get too easy really fast. And I also have no problem with not being able to get enough points for every talent in the game, because you don't need, or maybe not want, every talent in the game. It's easy to criticize the system at first, but believe me, it really does work. Also, all of you whining about the morality system, please. I would be livid if I couldn't freely explore the castle at night, or if I got into trouble for dizzying about a cadaver in front of someone. The only use I would see with the morality system is for house points or something. But I feel like Weasley would do a
Yes, well done, Slytherin, however.
And give your character enough points to win for your house to win anyways. And also, all of you whining about no Quidditch, please. The flying mechanics suck. Maybe it's for the best we don't have Quidditch. Now, gotta talk about what I love about this game and why it's my game of the year. Starting with the little things first. The music. No matter how good or bad you think Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts, or Hogwarts Legacy is, no one can deny that the Wizarding World is full of amazing, magical soundtracks. The NPCs. They're well thought out for the most part, especially the professors. Go talk to them for optional dialogue to learn of their pasts. It's so interesting. And Serona is a trans character played by a trans actor, so middle finger to Rowling. Checkmate boycotters. The combat is so much fun. Way better than I expected. It's totally my vibe, and I actually love that you only learn like 20 spells, because you really don't need more than 12. There are at least 4 spells that I just never use. Exploration is fun, can be tedious, especially with the 95 Merlin trials. But given that I never cared about the world outside of Hogwarts and Hogsmeade, I can easily appreciate the different areas, their designs, the quests within them. Every village is different. It's fun. The beasts, totally invested. Always putting a lot of effort into the vivarium. taking care of my so-called rescued pets. You can collect their fur and feathers and use them to upgrade gear, which is more useful the harder your difficulty setting is. But at the end of the day, the beast's purpose is to look cute, which they are. The only reasons why I wanted to play this game was to explore Hogwarts. This was a place of escapism for me during my darkest hours throughout my life, and I was so committed to memorizing the entire map of the castle. And I totally filled all 4 saves with 4 different house members to explore every common room. Also, playing the Jackdaw storyline with each house is particularly fun if you're Gryffindor or Hufflepuff. I identify as a Hufflepuff, so I was losing my mind when I got the opportunity to walk down a hallway in Azkaban with my Hufflepuff character. It was just a hallway, but the greatest and scariest hallway I've ever seen in my life. The devs are spoiling me here. It was so simple, but so amazing, so well done. Thank you. With the castle being my first priority, I'm not disappointed at all. And this is why I hold the game so highly, more than most might. The developers put all of their effort into Hogwarts. The details to every room and hallway, recognizable places based on the films and the books, the quirky NPC encounters you find when walking around, the murderous armor, Sir Cadogan, the headmaster's office, the restricted section, the holiday decorations during fall and winter. I can't. I am in awe. This is my game of the year. All I wanted was Hogwarts. And I got Hogwarts in the best way possible. So I could easily say Hogwarts Legacy was everything I wanted and more. Not everyone will agree, but it's just how I feel. Being a gamer who has also been a Harry Potter fan for most of my life, this was it. And I hope, really, really hope, that there is a sequel, that the devs take what they did right, improve on what they did wrong, and give us another phenomenal experience in the wizarding world. The art has become so much more and so much greater than the original artists. To the developing team of Hogwarts Legacy, thank you. You really accomplished something special.
That's it for this week. Be sure to follow this podcast and please follow my Twitter and blog at Hollis Films to follow my journey experiencing the entertainment industry's greatest stories. And let me know what you've been fangirling over this week. Thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you again next week.